My earliest memory is riding in my grandfather's boat, arm over the side, hand in the spray. I've spent much of the rest of my life chasing this feeling. All of that has led to this, the wooden boat experience.
Welcome to the Wooden Boat Experience. It is Thursday, the day I edit, and I'm finally fixing my spelling from last Saturday. What a weird week. So let's start with today and work our way back to last Saturday.
All right, that's better. The Crow's Nest by Richard Meredith. Dear Scott, continued success with the Wooden Boat Experience. I never miss an episode. Richard Meredith. Awesome. Can't wait to read it, Richard. Well, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Just got done doing chores. There's one little thing I want to do out here in the boat shed because it's only about 30 degrees. It's 25 or so outside. And I'm not working out here today, except maybe I'll sand a little bit later on. But there is one thing I want to work on, and that's the name plate for the back of the boat. So I'm going to get that piece of mahogany ready right now. Throw my safety glasses on, set up the camera, and get to it so I can work on it indoors where it's warm. Get this down to height. One thing I've seen a lot of on YouTube videos lately of people doing boat building and using a table saw that really is a big no-no is when they push through on the table saw here, they're reaching over to grab parts or reaching over to grab this. The blade is turning this way, which means if anything catches that you're reaching for, you're going to get sucked into the blade. You should never reach over the table saw blade. It's a really bad habit. So if you're doing it, try to stop. I know I've found myself occasionally thinking about it again and saying, no, can't do that. So don't do that, please. I don't want to see anybody getting hurt.
I'm sure by now there are a few of you watching the WBE that don't know why unbeknownst. I may have purchased this Chris Craft without my wife's knowledge. What are you working on? A friend asked one day. I'm restoring the Chris Craft, I said. What Chris Craft? My wife says. You know, the Chris Craft, I reply. No, I don't know the Chris Craft, she says.
Okay, we've got screw holes here. And now I gotta decide, do I plug those? Do I make this narrower? Life would be a lot easier if I just made it narrower, but I want it this wide. So I gotta mess with that for a minute. Guess we're making a couple of plugs. Now we can cut this off because it's only gonna be 36 inches long, and we're gonna run a router around here to get rid of that. So we only gotta plug 1, 2, 3 spots. When I drill into these holes, they're screw holes, which means they're kind of a jagged edge. I can't use the Forstner bit to center it like I normally would with the point, But if I put it in the drill press, I can control it a little bit better. So that's what I'm gonna do, because I want a nice clean hole. If I use a regular drill bit, there's probably gonna be some tear out, which I don't want. There, 3 nice clean holes to plug. Now, I would really like the plugs to match this wood. I know I'm not using the full length of this board, so I'm going to use the plug cutter on this end of the board and get some plugs that are exactly the same mahogany. So let's switch that out now. Okay, this is the bad end because that's where that screw is here, so we'll make a few plugs. I'm not going to put anything on these plugs, bungs, whatever you want to call them, because there's going to get plenty of varnish on top of them when this gets done, so they'll definitely hold in place. I'm going to use a router bit with a collar to keep it consistent. Now what you want to be careful of with a router is you don't want to go the wrong direction. You want the router climbing. You don't want it to be going with it so that the rotation shoots the router away from you. You want to be going into the wood, climbing into the wood, which I always remember it by going around the wood counterclockwise.
The idea for this nameplate has been in my head for a while, just rolling around. Last night I created it on the iMac. This morning, processed the reclaimed mahogany from our old Lures lapstrake. And now, let's carve the letters. I still need to carve the small Chippewa Bay letters underneath unbeknownst, and I may gold leaf the inside of the lettering. I'm not sure. We'll see. I also think this gap on the right of the T is too wide. Easy fix. At some point on Wednesday morning, Jay showed up to help me hang his skiff up that I've got to do some work on this winter. I just need it out of the way for now. I sure am glad I built these gantries. Well, I've been working outside this morning. Had to come in, do something at lunchtime. Had a conversation with somebody about some shirts for Wooden Boat Experience. And this package came. After watching your great videos, I thought you could use some new hats, sunglasses, and a backpack to carry all of your goodies in. Let me try one on. I like it. A white hat for me. My wife is going to say, John, that's not a good idea. Also, while we're here, let me grab this and see if I can do this properly. I want to thank Herbie, who sent me a whole bag of wooden boat magazines and other boat-related books. He didn't send them to me. I went and picked them up, but he lives about 8 miles from here. So thanks, Herbie. Monday began with cleaning the boat shed, which really needed it. I also spent a couple of hours on the port side of the hull, but I'm saving that because it actually goes along with next week's video. While sanding the Chris Craft, I used 2 things mostly.
my hand. Three things, I guess. My hands, this flat sander, which I'm planning on getting another one soon that's about this long, a longer one, but a more flexible than this one, which will work better with the boat. But this thing I've had for a long time, and this has been instrumental in getting this hull to look as flat as it is. And this other thing, this orbital palm sander, which I'm pretty sure I bought in the mid 80s. So, you know, it's like 35 years old. I don't know if this number means 86.12. I don't know if that means 12 of 86 when this was made, but I'm pretty sure that this is the sander I bought. I remember buying it. I remember I didn't have enough money really to buy it at the time, and it's done a lot of stuff. I never liked these sanders, mostly because of the dust, but partly because of the vibration. But the newer ones are so much better. And that's what I'm hoping to roll out next week, is something new that we've never done before that's going to replace this, and not replace this. I like this one, but give me another version that's a little longer, a longer board sander. And we'll see that next week.
Now let's take a look at Saturday, when the priming of the starboard side was done.
Remark this water line. So save us some time later on. I believe the starboard side is now ready to be primed. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put an electric heater under the hull, up off of the wood chips, don't worry, and just kind of warm the bottom of this boat up. It's mid-morning, I don't know, 9 something. Hasn't quite warmed up in here. Temperature is up to about almost 50 degrees. This is all sanded down to 80 grit. Here's what the pile looks like of sanding debris, going 1, 2, 3, 4 strakes plus the garboard from the front of the fin keel back. So it didn't take that long, maybe an hour and a half to sand this whole side down to 80. So that's maybe about half of the stuff that would be here. The rest of it is all here on these strakes, and I'm going to vacuum it down right now. Then later I will wipe it down real good before I prime it. But I want it to be a little warmer. 45 is the minimum for this 2-part primer. That's what we'll be using. So I got some work to do on the house, and I'd say about 2 o'clock, maybe 1:30, we'll be putting the primer on this side. I found with the regular wand with a lap strake, it can be really hard to get all the spots. This is a weird tip, but if you put your glove over the end and kind of wipe your hand along while you're doing it, it seems to get everything. Seems to work really well.
And of course, while vacuuming, I noticed a few more spots that needed to be faired.
46 on the sides. 47. So the hull temp is 46, 47. It is 51 in here right now. So we would be right on the edge of whether we should actually be putting the primer on here. It is just before noon, and the temperature is not going to get much warmer. The sun's not super bright, but what I did was I cheated a little. So underneath here, on top of those cement blocks, I've got an electric heater. So we're going to let this heat up for an hour or so, and it should trap up in there this heat and warm this hull up reasonably, and hopefully we'll get a difference in temperature that will make it more acceptable to throw this primer on. I don't want a lot, but what I don't want to happen is to have it be above the acceptable temperature, and then later in the afternoon it drops down before it cures. So now it's about 2:30, 2.5 hours later, after a disastrous trip to Lowe's, where everything was screwed up, and now we have...
This is part 1 of priming the hull, in which I didn't order the proper roller covers. Regular covers seem to slowly be pulled apart by this paint. The nap is also 3/8 of an inch rather than the recommended 1/8 of an inch. In part 2 next week, we will prime the other side of the hull, and then we'll be able to compare just how important the proper rollers are.
Making sure I scrape the side so there isn't any unmixed stuff there. It's kind of handy that Total Boat gives you these two things, at least the way I'm using it. I'm pouring them back and forth. Now I'm juggling 2 jobs at the same time here. I got some concrete to get in the ground. Well, it's still not going to freeze. So while this has to sit for a half an hour, I'm going to go get that stuff ready. And I'll be doing that probably after dark by light tonight. But the spot's all set, so it won't be too bad. So the half an hour this has to sit, I will go out, get my other stuff situated, come back, wipe this off to make sure the surface is ready, give it one more quick brush and vacuum, and then we will be adding some primer.
All in all, pretty successful, I'd say. Thanks, Total Boat, for all your help with this. I'm Scott.ouderkirk. This is the Wooden Boat Experience, and I'll see you next week in episode 15.